I grew up in a generation where everyone was preaching, if you work hard, you will get, sorry, just checking if the mic is on. If you work hard, you will get the life of your dreams. You gotta work for what you get. You have to work really hard. And dare I say, almost work yourself to the bone to really get what you want, get to the top. And more, I find that not to be the case. I felt like I was working really hard and I was burning myself out, and I wasn't admitting that I was burning out. And I'm like, no, just keep pushing. We got this. Let's keep going. And I was seeing less results, more stress, and more lack of focus because I was so tired and burning myself out. This entrepreneurial journey is very much about mindset. I feel, I see people, mentors, they're doing fantastic and they're just really prioritizing their energy into the right places. I don't know if people are passing by. Yeah, so my wellness journey really started with my entrepreneurship journey. I realized I didn't want to do the 9 to 5. I never really had a 9 to 5. I did a lot of shift work. And what happened was I hit a wall with my health. I have PCOS. There were quite a few times where my cysts burst. And if you guys don't know what that is polycystic ovarian syndrome. You get cysts in your ovaries and they're non-benign, but for some reason they just boop. And when that happens, I faint. So if I were driving, which wasn't the case, but if I were driving at that moment, that would be a very horrendous thing. Anyways, all this to say that stress was affecting me. Stress affects everyone, whether you like to admit that you're stressed or not, it does. And yeah, that compounded with maybe unhealthy choices, unhealthy schedules, sleeping very little, working way too much. And I remember hearing a quote somewhere, and I can't remember where this is, but if you don't take a break, the break is going to happen at some point. As in, you take a break for rest, or you are forced to take a break. And another quote that comes to mind is, if you don't have a purpose to live for, a crisis will change and derail your entire life, and you'll have something to have to focus on. So I really didn't have, not that I didn't have a dream, I really wanted to be CEO of this airline. I used to work in airlines. And as some of you may or may not know, it could be a stressful place to work, especially if you're in the back end, in the operations room, which is where I was. And I'd like to say that I was one of the youngest people there, but looking around, I was like, I don't think this is sustainable. A lot of people, I'm not gonna talk about the people, but it didn't seem sustainable for me, because the amount of times that I had gone to the hospital, I was like, well, what's going on here? COVID happened, halted flights, halted pretty much everything for everyone, and forced a lot of introspective reflection for my life. I had an opportunity. I mean, I was freaking out, but I also had an opportunity to really assess what I wanted. It was also the year I moved out, which was, I was really excited, like, yeah, okay, I get to do this thing. And then I felt like the universe is like, oh yeah, you want to be alone? You're going to be very alone. And which was a good thing, because I got to hear my own thoughts. I got to dive into like, oh, what is it that I really want, instead of having to tend to everyone's needs. I love my family, and I, was really blessed and fortunate to work to where I worked. But the common denominator I noticed was I was always trying to listen to and cater to whatever everybody else wanted, and I didn't practice listening to myself, which is a skill. There was a lot of self-abandonment. Anyways, all this to say, I switched, or I started to just love getting creative again. I started actually doing live videos on social media for my painting sessions, because I enjoy painting. I enjoy talking about the stuff that was on my mind. There was no pressure for any of this to happen, but it happened. I did it weekly. People enjoyed it. I actually ended up creating an oracle deck from all the paintings that I've made. And so ended up selling that. I got my feet wet into e-commerce. I got my feet wet into marketing, into content creation, ended up loving that, helping other people how to utilize social media to communicate their message. Everyone has a brand message, either a personal brand or their business. And so I started helping people do that. And then doing that for myself, for some reason, was so much harder. I think because of all the pressure, like I should know exactly what I want, but it's very difficult to know what you want from the get-go. And you're gonna evolve and you're gonna change. What was the point of this video? Oh yes, wellness and entrepreneurship. Please don't fall into that trap of like pushing yourself really hard. There are gonna be moments where you like gotta grind and have that montage, but that is not sustainable either. I realized I was doing the exact same thing that I was doing at work when I worked for someone else. And there's the feeling that you want of that dream life. You have to change that internally. You have to shift the mindset internally. And you can't leave the hustle and keep the hustle mentality, or like, I want to say burnout. You can't leave the burnout game and then still have that burnout mentality. You got to change that up. I'm gonna have to go, and I will continue this at a later date. I hope you guys enjoyed my little rambles. There was no point to this video, but I want to get my feet wet in having longer form content and just sharing my thoughts, because I think this is something that entrepreneurs struggle with, creators struggle with, when they're like, oh yes, I get to work for myself. Well, you gotta have a plan. Some of it is figuring out the plan as you go, but have a plan. My plan was to work remotely, work with different brands that are aligned, especially in the wellness industry, because I feel like those who have gone through the pains and the struggles of not having a healthy life choose to have that healthy life every single moment of every day by those little decisions. But it's usually, from what I've seen, usually the people that struggle the most to have that are the ones that value it the most. So have a great day, everyone. I hope you guys make great decisions for your day. Don't know how to end this.